We're going to talk some interesting stuff today. We're super excited to have Evan Goldman join us today. Hopefully all you guys know Evan and his mom, Hazel Goldman, been selling Miami for almost 40 years, I believe. They have sold a ton. I made that little map for you. And they sold almost $2 billion in their careers. They're the number 5 small team Remax nationwide. And they sell mostly in the areas that all of us are focused on. Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest, Falls Baptist, South Gables, and sprinkled all over the rest of Miami. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Especially in the summer, it's a tough time. My 2 girls are here. They get to see us in action today. We're making videos, so we'll get this out to the world. Buy from me, not from him.
Love it. If only we had one of the Viceroy, like one of the 4 bars here too.
Yeah,
like those.
They have a speakeasy.
Those, right? That looked like one of the most fun buildings I've seen in a while.
Really,
seriously.
the amenities, and I walked the space, and really the amenities looked amazing. Like the simulator room is really big. Like all those, it's
cool.
really great. I think your clients will be very impressed.
Let's all make fun of Barbara for being like. You thought you were gonna sneak in wearing red?
Yeah, right.
I have there.
Okay, so Evan and I are gonna drill down into Pinecrest, Palmetto Bay, Falls Baptist, and we're going to steal his ideas. He doesn't know it yet because he tried to do a phone call with me to find out what we were talking about, and like I always do, I just pretended that I was busy and we couldn't do it because it's much more fun.
Absolutely.
To put them on the spot. I have no idea
100%.
what to expect.
I assumed you would do that.
Yes, David last week, he tried to call too, and I didn't tell him what we were doing.
Yeah.
So we're going to pick his brain, and we're going to try to get him to tell us all of their secrets, okay? And then we're all going to steal their secrets. So when we look at what's going on in the suburbs over the last 90 days, we see a mixed picture, and all of us who are out there selling every day, we're feeling what we're seeing. So what we're seeing in numbers, we're feeling out on the road. How are you guys doing this year, by the way?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty
look
good.
at your numbers.
Yeah. I feel like it's been a weird year because I think, everybody gets used to certain trends, and everybody was used to the trends of the last several years, which really started to change, I think, after 2023, but kind of didn't too much until the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
And everybody thought, I think it was going to rage back in 2025, and it really didn't. And it's been much more up and down this year. But I feel like it's been a much stronger summer.
It's been a little crazy recently,
than
right?
It was in the spring. And I feel like this last month has been probably one of the busiest Julys.
Yeah.
Even in the last 5 years, even when it was way busier between January and June, and July, August were very slow. Now I feel like July is much busier, and May and April were much slower.
So what are you seeing and feeling that is your biggest challenge right now, and also your biggest opportunity of who's out there buying right now?
Can I point to something that
Please.
I actually noticed super quickly? When you look at the number for sale, right, in the number for sale column, look at the places that are least central, right, like to and close to downtown Miami to Miami Beach, right, which would be Pinecrest, Gables North doesn't really count, Palmetto Bay, Kendall, Coral Way. Those places have the biggest inventory for sale. I think one of the biggest challenges now is everybody wants to be close to downtown, to Miami Beach, because traffic's horrible. And more people have come, and people are back in the office. They're, maybe not 5 days a week, but 3 to 4 days a week. I don't know if you guys have talked about this anytime recently, but it's very true. I mean, Palmetto Bay, 160 homes
Yeah.
for sale right now. That's I mean, that's double what it is in parts of the Gables and parts of Coconut Grove.
What's very interesting about Palmetto Bay, and we're going to drill down into, I have much more detailed submarket data, but of course
you do.
but in Palmetto Bay, right now there's only just about 7.5 months of inventory. Although we're going to see when we break it into prices how it increases, but for every home that sold in the last 90 days in Palmetto Bay, we listed 2 new homes. So we took one off, we put 2 new on, and the number of sales is down 3%, but look at that, listings are up 14.5%. So you have 3% fewer sales, and you have 14.5% more new listings. So that's why you're starting to see the inventory increase, and a lot of sellers, I think they're kind of seeing the writing on the wall. And the people who were like, I bet all the time, what's the rush? Now you see 14.5% more people in the last 90 days hitting the market than did last year. Overall, though, inventory is relatively low. Like, we feel like there's a gazillion homes for sale, right?
Because there hasn't been in the last several years.
Right, but there's only 6.5 months
in one area,
of single-family homes in Miami-Dade. And in all these areas, the highest inventory is in Pinecrest with 9 months, which is still just at the very top end of a balanced market. So as many homes as there seem to be, it's still fairly low inventory. The problem that we have is that most of the inventory, to use a technical term, is shit.
Mm-hmm. Most is either not good inventory. Most needs a lot of work. People still do not want to do work because it's costs 3 times, 4 times, 5 times what it used to cost, and it takes forever. And then, I still hear and see people talking about insurance costs on top of that, talking about the interest rates, and the rates were what? They were just frozen again.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday or the day before?
Although we had 2 dissenters, so we're moving towards
something a little more favorable. But and buyers also think that they're more, by seeing more inventory, buyers think they're a little more in command. As a result, that makes them want to negotiate more and think they have more power. And in some cases, I think that they do in certain segments of the market with certain types of houses. But in certain types of houses, they really don't. And that's creating for tougher negotiations, different expectations from buyers and sellers. And then hence, if they can't come to an agreement, things aren't selling.
So you talked about 160 homes in Palmetto Bay, right? Lauren, you just schlepped a buyer all around Palmetto Bay. 160 homes, but you can't find anything, right? But that's the crazy part about this
that's
market.
why now I'm in this appraisal problem.
But it's crazy because it looks like there's so many, and then you take your buyers out and they're like, I can't find anything I want to buy.
A very good example. I just had a listing in Palmetto Bay. It was gorgeous. Turnkey. It was on the corner of a busy street, but off of the
always
street.
something.
Always something. Well, that was a factor. But this house comped out because of the finish. It was fully renovated and gutted in 2019 and added on to everything. I mean, drywall. It was taken down to the studs, and it was very well done, and it presented beautifully. The probably comped out at about 1.9. We priced it, I think, at just under 1.8 because of the busy street. And we had to go down. And then the seller, only after a month or two, we're only getting 1 or 2 showings a week. And she said, what do I need to do to get it sold right away? I said, go to $1,499,000. You'll have offers within the next week. And she did that. And we had 3 offers within 3 days. She got it sold. Could she have maybe waited a little longer? Yes, but people had to sift through 159 other homes. So people were really just looking for the price. And it's a perfect example of a market that's slightly elevated in terms of inventory. Price is still the number one driving force.
So we talk about this every single week. And that's about having hard conversations with sellers. That's really our number one job, is to have the hard conversations that the wimpy people aren't willing to have. And you had to tell your seller, not 1,900,000, which is what it could have been on paper.
And maybe was 3 years ago or 2 years ago for sure. But no, but people, people are going to trust you if you give them the honest information. You can or if you really don't and they start out, you better give them the honest information a week or two into the listing, or prepare them for it beforehand, because that's how they'll gain your trust more than anything.
So, who's buying right now? What crazy buyers
It's a good question.
are buying right now? Who are you seeing out there? Is it people coming from other places? Is it local people?
I'm seeing a lot of locals who have waited, or who have waited to sort of upgrade or downgrade. I'm still seeing a ton of locals. I'm still seeing a bunch of people from the Northeast. And it's funny, I feel like most of the people from the Northeast are still moving a little further north.
Mm-hmm.
Those are more of my clients looking in the Grove and downtown and even on the beach. And you're also seeing some investors here and there, but I feel like they're kind of peeking out, but not fully coming into the market, because they don't, they're really just looking for deals, and so there aren't deals lying there for everybody. But I'm starting to see a few of them come out.
When you look at this chart and you see Shenandoah 1,050,000, and you see Coral Way
Wow.
at 1,060,000, you see Kendall
600 a foot.
You see Kendall at 1,200,000.
Yeah.
Palmetto Bay at almost 1,300,000. Glenvar Heights almost 2 million.
Is that which part of Kendall would that?
That's
be?
all Kendall.
Wow.
What is that? You were born here, so we've seen.
That's wild. Well, to me, I feel like Kendall's a bit of a hidden gem from right over here from a land standpoint. There's a lot of really nice acres, even acre plus properties, but also for people that commute north and west, or even just north and a little bit east. It's very easy to pop on, the Turnpike and the 876 and connect right over. And I feel like a lot of people are basing it off of that too. Plus you have a lot of the private schools like Columbus and Berlin and all these, schools that are further north and take a little while to get to. When you start looking at how Miami's grown, Kendall's pretty central. It's not. It used to be. Oh, you're all the way out in Kendall. No, it's pretty central.
As long as you can drive for 3 hours
Right.
a day, Kendall's awesome.
Yeah.
Look. As long as you don't have to go north and east, right? You're fine. But there's. I feel like there's a lot of good land, and even right. Even this sort of Dadeland extended East Kendall area, just east of Baptist, there's still a few little pockets that I feel like have only upwards to sort of go, because the houses have a...
When we look at this chart, and then we're going to move on because we have some really great charts. Sunset. I love when you cackle at me.
We're gonna move on to some really great charts.
You only have to deal with your
Family,
mom.
yeah, I know.
I
know, right?
Sunset, 877,450 a foot. Very centrally located, big lots. That's a great opportunity. Sales in Sunset are up 9% year over year, and look, the number of listings is up 46, almost 47%. So there's a lot of opportunity to get in there. Prices are down almost 12%. I think that's a great buying opportunity. 5 months of inventory. That's definitely an area that I would be looking at more. Let's get to some of those awesome charts.
Charts.
Yeah, it's the charts. Okay, so when we look at Pinecrest, right? The Goldmans, they've sold a lot of Pinecrest. How many houses have you sold at Pinecrest?
That's a good question. I don't even know what the number is. I think last we looked, because if you include the houses we've sold 2 and 3 times, multiple times, and this was
a lot. Those are all those
I've been
red
doing
dots.
this about 20 years, but my mom over 45, and I think it's somewhere around 800 or something.
800 homes in Pinecrest.
Something like that.
So he knows his stuff.
Thank you.
when we look at this, it's amazing, right? The number of sales is down 65% since the peak in 21. I mean, you just look at that curve. It was 254 sales.
Wow.
And this is the same.
I didn't realize 2021 was that. I thought it was more balanced. Actually.
And this is the same 90-day period. So this is the last 90 days and the same period every year going back to 2018. There was 254 sales in the same 90-day period in 21, and the last 90 days only 88. But look at the prices. The prices back in 21, because everybody thinks that 21 was the peak. And 21 was peak insanity. That was when, remember, we had like 100 people out the
several
door.
offers.
Oh my God. You know, but prices were only 2.1 on average, 2.160 in Pinecrest in 21, and now they're 3.7. So activity was through the roof in 21, but prices are at all-time record highs still in Pinecrest.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Northeast Pinecrest, it's still all about, it's all about land all over Pinecrest. But if you go to Northeast Pinecrest, all of those acres are over 3 million, and the best ones are probably between someone will pay you between 3.5 and 4 if they're really deep on one of those top quality streets. And so that's just and that's just the average home sale, and you can only get that for certain land. But there's still been a bit of a drop with newer construction, over 10, 11 million. I think people still think that some of that market is selling like hotcakes. I feel like that slowed down a bit, but I feel like anything between 4 and 8 is a very, very popular price point at the moment, right? Oh, and here we go.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm right.
Well,
we'll see.
In the 10 million plus range, there's currently 2 years of inventory.
Right.
And even though sales show that they're up 100% compared to last year, there's very few. So it went from like 2 to 4 or 1 to 2. Prices 10 million plus per foot down 17% compared to the same time last year. And that 3 to 4 million range, which we talk about every single week, the soft middle, sales down 62.5%.
Interesting. And that's really because of the value of land. In terms of, so much of that market to me is an older house on a nice piece of land. And people don't either it's too old to renovate and they just have an inflated price on the lot, or it's or the house just needs.
Yeah, the cheapies, you get what you expect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The more expensive ones, they're nice, but that middle ground, the 3 to 4, the 4 to 5,
yep.
You're typically going to be getting an older, unrenovated home, and buyers have just had enough of that crap.
I feel like those are those price points, really between 3 and 5. You have the biggest mix of places. If you have something nice, that's because I feel like a lot of the old, ranch homes that are on nice lots are priced a little too high because they're asking at 4.5 or 5, even if they're really nice ranch homes. And those really should be between 3 and 4 tops, depending upon what it is. And I feel like those price ranges have the most overpriced inventory just based on
look at the 4 to 5 range. You have almost a year and a half of inventory, and you have a 36.5% reduction in new listings. Those sellers, they're reacting to 2 things, in my opinion. The first thing is their homes aren't selling. Prices are down 11.5%. Sales are taking a long time and flat, and they also realize there's nothing for them to buy, and they're like, we can't do it. And so you've got, over a third of sellers saying, no more. I'm tired of keeping my house clean, getting the dog and the kids out. We're just going to take it off the market. And you have a similar, thing, but to a lesser extent in the 5 to 7. And then in the 3 to 4 range, what's very interesting is when you see that you have over a year of inventory, you've got a list to sell of 3.7. So for every home that sold in Pinecrest in the last 90 days, between 3 and 4 million, we listed almost 4 new ones. Take one off, put almost 4 back on.
Down 60.
But prices are up 32% per foot. And the reason I would assume is because smaller and smaller homes are selling in that price range. And so you're paying more per foot, while at the same time, the average price is flat or slightly down.
Yeah.
When we look at Pinecrest, back to this one, what's very interesting is, here in 18, you had a lot more listings than sales. And the same in 19. You had a list to sell of 2.2, 2.9. Then all of a sudden in 21, pretty much every single thing we listed sold. But look at what's happened since. In 2025, you hardly see blue. And you look how many listings that you see. We're back to a list to sell overall of 2.3. So we're putting a lot more homes on.
It's kind of nice. I think it's kind of nice because I mean, you obviously you want things to sell right away, but that's the kind of market that when I started in, that's what it was essentially like for the moment. I mean, I started around 04, 05 when it was still a little crazy, but yeah, a normal market is a normal market. And I feel like so many people in Miami are not used to normalcy that so it's tricky for them to sort of get a hold of, especially if you're just starting out in the business too. It's a very it can be very challenging.
So when we look at Palmetto Bay, we see a 45% reduction in the number of sales since 21, and prices are up 112% over time. So back in 2021, an average house in Palmetto Bay was $824,000, which at the time seemed crazy expensive, because before that, if you had something over 500 in Palmetto Bay, it would take forever to sell. And now you're at $1,284,000 and change, but the number of sales, has come down, and the list to sell is now 2.5. So for every home that sold in the last 90 days in Palmetto Bay, we listed 2.5 new ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to, when you talk to a new buyer who's moving here from out of town, and you're trying to explain our market and explain how land is valued and why prices are valued as they are, right? The further north and east you go, the more expensive land is. The further south and west you go, and that's extremely important when the market isn't booming, right? When a market's booming, everything's going up, everything's going down. I mean, everything's going up. In a bad market, everything's going down. But when things start to normalize a bit, or things do go down, they're going to get a lot worse in the areas that aren't as strong. In this case, Palmetto Bay land is not worth what Pinecrest land is. It's not worth what South Gables land is, and so on and so forth. So I think you're sort of seeing Palmetto Bay being dragged down a little further than those other areas.
Yeah, I mean, you used to sell it because I guess it's far, but it's the only thing you can afford.
Exactly.
And so you have no choice. Yep. But now that's Cutler Bay, right? Exactly. Because Palmetto Bay is almost $1.3 million, and it's not cheap anymore. How would you explain this? You're an economic whiz, right?
Yeah.
So how would you explain, and we can look at almost every market in Miami, and it would be the same, that sales are down 45%, but prices are up 112%. If you owned a grocery store and the number of loaves of bread on your shelf was down big time, the ones people were buying, so more and more bread was sitting there, how would prices be going up versus you doing like buy one, get one, 30, like how is that?
Well, first and foremost, the year's not over, so I'm very curious to see.
Optimistic.
I'm very curious to see what happens price-wise there towards the end of the year.
You heard it here first. Evan Goldman is predicting.
I didn't predict it. I definitely did not predict. If I had a crystal ball, I would be on my yacht right now and enjoying some caviar. But I think it's important to realize that there's so much to still choose from, and buyers are still buying, but they're buying the best of the best. And I think that's why the pricing wise, you still see that. I think most people, prices have come down, but they got overly inflated.
So what you're
2
saying,
years ago.
I think, is that this small number of blue ones is worth $1.3 million, but this huge
Correct.
number of orange
Correct.
ones isn't.
Correct.
So when we see
And
prices
that's it.
rising, we talk about average prices. People think that to mean like every home in the area, but the reality is a very small number are
Exactly.
actually selling for that,
The
and the
same
rest aren't
house,
getting it.
the same house that I was talking about before was bought in 2019 for 700,000 or 800,000. It just sold for $1.5 million. That's very consistent with what you see here, which is basically double, right? So people just got way too carried away, and all those people in the orange need a good agent to look them in the eye and say, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
You need to come down big time on your house.
Is that what you're telling your sellers?
Exactly.
How do they react to that?
It depends what their expectations were. But most of them, I have a client who's planning to retire. Him and his wife, we've had the house listed for 6 months. They were with another very good agent 6 months prior to that. The market was a little different. They're upset. They've cried in front of us, because their retirement has been directly affected by the slowdown. Now they're still making way more money than their house was ever worth, but they plan their retirement. Their kids are gone. They want to move to South Carolina, and they plan their retirement on they don't have tons of money, and the extra $100,000 to $300,000 for them is a very, very tough thing to swallow. So it's tough. It depends. I have other people who are like, I'm 42 years old, so I'm not going to make an extra 200,000. I'll just make it up on whatever else I buy or something like that. But for someone in, the retirement age and getting up there and leaving Miami and retiring from their job, it's a tough thing if they had different expectations.
When we look at Palmetto Bay by price range, you see a tale of two Palmetto Bays, right? And the colors really bear that out. Once you get to 2 million, everything changes in Palmetto Bay.
100%.
So from 2 to 2.5, you have 18 months of inventory, year and a half of inventory. You have a list to sell of 5. So for every house that's sold in Palmetto Bay between 2 and 2.5, we put 5 new ones back on the market. Almost 67% more new listings this year. But despite this, prices are up over 16%. In the 2.5 to 3 million range, again, you have a year and a half of inventory. Sales are down 50%. And look at that, a 300% increase in new listings. Those people, they're like, we better try to get it done right now. The prices are down almost 27%. Sales
Directly
are
speaks
cut
to
in
the
half.
last slide. Absolutely.
Exactly. But then you look like under 750. You have 5 months of inventory, a list to sell of 1.3, so we're barely replenishing inventory. Sales are up 80%, and prices are up. Wouldn't you love a listing in Palmetto Bay for 750 right now? It'd be like cha-ching.
Absolutely. Anything, really, in a lot of these areas, if you get anything under $1 million, you're salivating, right? Because you know there's going to be buyers out there. You know that people are going to be picking up the phone one way or for sure.
So when we look at the Falls Baptist area, we see a slightly slower decrease in the number of sales, only a 40% decrease because it was late to the party. In 21, people flocked to the top areas first, and then Falls Baptist kind of became more popular when the prices everywhere else went nuts, and it was one of the only places you could afford. And prices are up 121%. So right now you're almost $2 million, to live around the Galway Glen, Killian, that whole area.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
When we look at the price ranges, we see the same thing. Under 2 million, you see a lot of green, and then you get to that 2 million range, and you've got 50% fewer sales. You've got 25% increase in listings. Look at this. In the 2 to 2.5 range, you have a list to sell of 13. So for every house in Falls Baptist, we put 13 new ones on, and you already have 33 months of inventory. that's a really tough range, because just like in the Pinecrest 3 to 4, those houses, they're not so crappy that it's worth tearing them down, but they're not nice, and you're really stuck in that middle.
But that's an important thing. If someone comes to you and they have 2.5 to spend, and they say, "What do I do with it?" Are you gonna point them towards here, even though the houses are much nicer, bigger? Or are you gonna point them more towards the area where the numbers make more sense, right? And as an agent, I mean, someone might really want to be there, but that sort of speaks to, protecting their investment without.
So let's try to steal his ideas now. We'll see what we can get him to tell us.
Well, of course.
How are you guys getting all of your business?
I was gonna say. I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I mean, look. I feel like with everybody, with a lot of other top agents who I've spoken to about this, right? Everybody has their own network and their own people. You have, you have connections, whether it be through business, socially, through your gym, through your church, through your temple, through whatever you're involved with, through your kids, through your school. There's a ton of that, and you never really know when it's going to come up. I always say there's also a little bit of luck involved, right? You just might get the wealthy New Yorker who's moving down here in 3 months, calls on your listing, hasn't spoken to any agents yet, and you get lucky on the phone with that person. You have to take advantage of that. And so, do I get all my clients like that? No, definitely not. But am I able to seize the opportunity when something like that comes? Absolutely.
So, what do you guys do? Do you do mailings?
We do mailings, probably not as much as we should.
How much do you mail?
We probably, mailing-wise, we probably do... Last year, I think we did about 4 or 5 mailings a year, and this year we're probably going to do the same amount.
So not a ton.
Not a ton.
Compared to like
mainly
Oscar,
online.
who's like ridiculous.
Exactly. Oscar
Adam
does a lot.
mails a lot.
Adam mails a lot. Michael mails a lot. Drew mails a lot.
The Jills and Judy, they mail like 8 times a month.
Drew actually mails a lot too.
He's still doing 5 sales a week.
A minute is it, or whatever.
Even though sales are down 40%.
But I feel like you have to find your business from where you're comfortable finding your business. You have to be comfortable speaking to people in public when you're out and about. My mentor, who's my mom, obviously, she always said, if I'm not out to dinner, if I'm not out to lunch, I'm losing business. Because she'd go out to lunch in the area in Pinecrest, everybody knew, saw her signs, would see her. Hey, Hazel, what's, how's it going? What's going on? I've been meaning to talk to you. I need a painter for my house, or something house related. And that I'm sure that your mom would say the same. In terms of really, you have to be out there. You can't. Yes, you can do a lot of things from your desktop. You can do a lot of things with social media. People need to see your face there still, and I think that that's extremely important. And people want to hear you talk about housing. People want, whoever it is.
Do you cold call?
I do not. I do not. I'm
not a phone warrior.
I'm not a phone warrior. My mom used to be in the Mike Ferry school years ago and really enjoyed it and pushed me to do it. I could never really do it myself.
Do you mow your own lawn? Do you pull your own teeth? And why are you trying to sell your own house?
Exactly. No, I definitely
That's the
will.
Script, really. That's
no. If I will cold call on FSBOs, just to usually I'll come across a FSBO through a client who's inquired about the house, but then either while showing it or not sure, or just calling on it, I'll start talking to the owner, because you have the owner on the phone, so why not? Even if you're the 50th realtor who they've talked to, you'd be like, well, this is.
Do you door knock?
I do not. No.
Okay. Do you do a lot of video?
I would say door knocking to me, in certain areas, I think would be very hard. I just think that in my, I mean, nowadays too, I just feel like people are they might meet you with a shot
Literally, I
at the
dropped to
door.
ground
Right.
beneath my window.
Right.
Like,
Well, and
Now you don't even have to answer your door. You go in your ring and you're like, what do you want?
right. It's also a lot of exposure because you're on their ring. So whatever happens, it's going to be recorded. And I don't know if you want that, right?
So do you do a lot of video?
Not as much. Just and I feel like I've said to myself, I need to do more video. And
I said self. I need to do.
and I just haven't. My assistant and I bought one of those cool cameras. We haven't used it much.
Take it out of the box yet?
Yes.
That's the first
It's
step.
definitely out of the podcast. Thank you. But no, I mean, a lot of online, a lot of offline. I feel like, everybody talks about staying in touch with your clients. I do a ton of that.
How? I'm
if
getting the good stuff
if-
for you guys here.
if people have an occasion, whether it's a graduation, a new baby, it's a great opportunity to send an email. I will give you a great little tip.
Okay. Write this down.
I mean, I'm sure you guys do it, which is probably why I'm saying it. But at the beginning of the year, make sure to contact all your buyers to remind them about filing for homestead exemption if they qualify for homestead exemption. Great way at the beginning of the year we actually used to send out like letters, and our assistant would put together letters. Now I kind of just email or text my clients, hey, the deadline's coming up, make sure to do it. It's great. It's value added because they say, because they're sitting there saying, all right, I forgot to do it. Oh my God, thank you you just saved me how much money? I mean, and it's just a great, hey, how's the house? How's everything going? So it's I feel like that's it. But cultivating your base, if you're, instead of cold calling, I'll just call an old client or someone that I know super well connected. If I don't have anything on my schedule, say, hey, do you want to go to lunch? And just take someone out to lunch and be like, hey, I just want to remind you, I'm still in business. I'm still, I'm still, this is, these are the
I'm
deals
short
that
on
I've
the
been
Hazel
doing.
quota, so I
Right.
need some business.
Exactly.
My ass.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking for business. I feel like a lot of people are never comfortable, no matter how many years they've been doing this, to ask for business. Something else that I was taught, you should never, I feel like there's certain ways you can do that are better than others.
There's someone in this room that I'm not going to look at that is very afraid of asking her sphere of influence or his sphere of influence
for business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's based on relationships and being honest with people. It's if you ask for someone for business, even if the real reason is because, oh man, I've got 3 kids, I don't know how I'm going to put them through college, which is a real reason, right? But obviously that's not the best way to approach someone who you don't know as well. I would just always tell somebody that you'll work harder than anybody else. You're much more knowledgeable, and you'll look out for their best interests. Anybody who hears that, even if you go into a store to buy clothes or go to buy a car, you feel good when someone tells you that. So if you can convince someone of that, there's nothing.
You guys getting like 500 web leads a month?
I wouldn't say 500. We get web leads, a decent amount. Remax has a very good system set up. Most of those for us don't really convert. Most of
What
our
about your
business is
personal website?
Yeah, but not as many through there. To be honest with you,
It's hard
I feel
these
like
days, right?
I feel like websites are a little
One of the things that I tell our agents
a little
is
1998.
be careful before you spend
Yep.
$2,500 on one and then $5,000 a month on the package they want to sell you, because it's really hard to generate the leads, and it's even harder to convert them. These days.
And even the ones that are actually real, right? Because most of the real leads are going to come through a post you have, or they're just going to call or email you directly on one of your listings. The best way to get business, I feel like, is to have listings, because then you get calls. And when you get calls from people who aren't working with agents, it's a great way to convert them to clients.
CRM?
Yeah. We don't use anything too sophisticated in that sense. We have our own sort of database, but we don't have anything super.
You send pumpkins.
That's true.
My whole news feed this fall,
That's
because
true.
you and I have a lot of social overlap.
That's true. Yeah.
My whole news feed this fall was pumpkins around Halloween from the Goldman.
We started doing something.
It was really cute.
I have to give my wife credit for it, and we're doing it again because it was so successful. Around in October, we're handing out pumpkins to all of our clients, or the majority of clients are people who we do business or who refer us business, especially the ones with families. It's a great little touch. The kids get involved. Some of them post it.
Pumpkins?
Yeah, well, not that kind of brand, but a little tag. It says boo. It's like booing your clients
or something.
Yeah,
right?
and so we boo them with not like what do they call? They're called heirloom pumpkins.
Huh.
So heirloom pumpkins, which I didn't even know what they were. They're very, think of an heirloom tomato. An heirloom tomato looks kind of funky and different. Same with heirloom pumpkins, and they're more decorative. So it's it costs some money. It's not cheap. And I actually wanted everybody on my team to deliver them. So it took some time. I mean, it took about I'd say 2.5 or 3 days for us to deliver. It's a lot of pumpkins, and it took some time, but I sort of wanted to do it because that's also a way to, hey, you get face-to-face time with your client.
cherry picked who you took your pumpkins to?
Of course. Of course. My assistant took some, and
how much business do you think you get from coaching Bethon basketball, from school, from all of those community service type of things you do?
That's actually, I have a great story. I've coached in the Bethon Basketball League for many, many years. I have 4
Just
kids.
registered my son.
Oh, awesome. He'll love it. So I have 4 kids, so I've been doing this for like 10 years or something, minus COVID. So, and I've met tons of families. I actually just about 4 months ago got one of my biggest clients who's looking to buy a house up to $12 million. How did they meet me? When they moved here from New York, they enrolled their daughter, who didn't want to play basketball at all, in the basketball league. She was on my team. She had never played before. She's since gone on and played every other year. And the family called me because they know that I was in real estate. They've been renting. They didn't use me to rent when they first moved here. And now they're looking for a very expensive house. And it's just been a nice, I didn't give them the hard sell right off the bat, but they kind of just got to know me as a person. And then we started talking a little more real estate, and the trust grew, and they knew that I knew my stuff. And that's
how do you
compete? So it was a very timely question.
How do you compete against Michael Martinez, David Siddons, Jonathan Vega on the other end of the spectrum, Oscar?
Mm-hmm.
How do you go into a listing? And most of your listings are interviewing at least a couple of.
They all have many, many faults. No, I'm totally teasing.
What?
Take a list.
I'm totally teasing, right?
Let's make the list.
No. I respect all those people tremendously. I think we all have our strengths.
What's yours?
I think you went right into that. Well, it's funny. Hazel and I work as single agents. A lot of agents don't work as single agents because their companies don't allow them to. We work as single agents, so our fiduciary duties a little different. This means more to some people than others, because if you have some attorneys really care about this.
How does Remax handle that? Because that's Droger level. They can't.
You have to ask them.
Yeah,
don't answer.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't believe that all agents can. I'm not sure. It's a good question. Don't send this video to my brother.
We'll cut that. We'll cut that part out.
No, but that is a way to distinct yourself. But in all honesty, we get calls all the time from people who say, hey, you guys sold us a house years ago, and we were on the other side of a deal from you, and you knew more than our clients, you negotiated better, you handled the inspections better, and we just thought that you handled it better than our agent, so that's why we called you. And I feel like that's really our strength. Anybody, all those agents that you mentioned, we all have great pictures. We all have great marketing. We can all say all the right things. And it's tough. Some of those people have much better, bigger listings and more of them in certain areas. So it's hard to compete. But with us, we run a very small, tight operation. We're not a big team. You're always going to get myself or my mother on the phone. We have one full-time assistant. We have one part-time assistant. But it's hard to compete against some of these mega teams. But we don't really try to do that because we're a much different type of operation. So I think that's one of our strengths. How do you
remember everybody's name and everything about them?
It's
I don't. Yeah, it was like every single person.
It's funny.
Their kids, their parents.
Superpower.
It is.
It's just innate. I'm much better at that than I am crunching all these numbers. Like
you would say it's a huge part of how you get your business is those relationships.
Those relationships. Also, I feel like just stuff comes back around to you. This is Miami. Everybody knows everybody. You don't, you have to, even if you don't know somebody, they're going to remember you for whatever interaction you've had with them. So in that sense, I think it's important to always be on your guard, always have a smiling, helpful face. Look, that's sort of how I think you should live your life anyway. Be a good citizen, be a good human being. But if you do that and bring your business into it, I think it's going to pay a lot of dividends. So,
last question for me, and then we'll see if anybody else has a question. You guys, you've been doing this a long time. You're top agents. If you were a new agent, or you were an agent who's doing 3 or 4 or 5 million a year, what advice would you give somebody for how to grow their business in this challenging environment? What are the daily habits? Or what do you think someone new or someone who wants to grow should be doing?
First and foremost, I think if somebody's starting out and they really want to get a leg up, and I feel like your mom really set the bar for this. Work with a top agent. Go and say, hey, let me shadow you. Let me work with you. That's how you really learn the business. That's how I learned the business. It happened to be my mom. I was very lucky. She wanted me to join the business. I was hesitant for many years, and then finally took the plunge. But with and when I started, work with an agent who's not just going to say, this is how you sell a $12 million house. No. When I started out, she gave me all of our low-hanging fruit. I did rentals for 2 or 3 years nonstop. They used to call me the rental king. I probably made about between $50,000 and $100,000 worth of commissions just on rentals. Any rental she had all these clients, and the clients had kids moving to UM, renting for $1,000 a month, $1,500. That's a great way to learn the business, because you're not going to work harder for less money than on a rental, right? We all know it. We all still, even still to this day. That's a great way, I think, to really learn the business. The other challenge is really work on keeping a database and staying in touch with your past clients, because that's where most of your business is going to come from. People they know, their referrals, people they've spoken to. Really maintain those relationships with the people. So,
anybody have a question for Evan? We have 10 more minutes. Now's your chance to get the good stuff from him. Juliet.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So going back to your grocery store and having the bread, and you're saying the bread's $5, and you're not selling that bread. So obviously you're priced too high and you have to lower your prices. So what do you feel is the for 2026? I mean, do you think that prices are going to come down? And are we overpriced?
I'm looking at my crystal ball
Ooh.
again. I'm looking at my crystal ball.
But you're looking
No,
at the data.
Of course.
You know, you've got the prices.
It's
are up,
tricky.
but sales
It's
down.
tricky.
So
You want to take a step first? You want?
No, you're on the hot seat.
I would say that I think we've leveled off comfortably, and if you had asked me this in March or April, I would have said that I think things are going to keep going down a little more. I feel like off of the peak, and I could be wrong. We're probably off about anywhere from 5 to 15%, price wise. Usually 5 to 10. But I feel like it's sort of leveled off there. I don't feel like it's gotten worse so far this year, and I anticipated it to, because the last few years, even though they were busier, it slowed up a lot more July and August through the end of the year. But I'm not seeing that now, so it's kind of weird, because you can't base it on the last couple of years.
Let me ask it in a slightly different way. You get a call
Right.
from someone who's thinking about selling. They've been in the house for 20 years. Their kids are out. And you tell them what you think it's worth. And they're like, I'll wait. You tell them it's a good idea to wait. Next year will be better. 2 years from now will be better. They should do it now while the market's still the way it is.
I'll say to them, how long are you planning to wait? If you're just going to wait another year, I don't think there's a point. If you're going to wait 3 to 5 years, okay, it makes sense. If you're happy in your home, go ahead. But if you're just waiting for the short term, you're still able, if you've owned it long enough, you're still able to make a lot of money on your investment and on the house. So I think it's a good time. Now, condo-wise, older condo-wise, I feel like that's the one segment of the market that is in trouble, just because of all the new regulations and the reserve studies and the cost of insurance, and those are great opportunities for some buyers, but it's going to take a while to kind of get some of these older buildings with a lot of the new blood in them,
especially
for
when
sure.
that kicks in the end of the year, when it all kicks in, I
Yep.
think rentals are probably going to go up because people aren't going to be able to pay these assessments.
Correct.
And if they're rental properties, they're going to have to raise their rent.
Yep.
So
Correct.
That's going to be.
It's going to be tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can always count on Barbara for a question.
But wait, I want to.
Okay.
New. No. Anybody who's buying condo now, I 100% agree with you. You got to buy new. I mean, looking in these buildings that were built, pre 1990, really.
Yeah.
It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. Yeah.
I have a great condo, 2015, built, 3-bedroom, $799
Wow.
Where?
in Edgewater.
Oh.
Yeah.
In what?
600. House.
600. Got it.
Yeah.
Barbara?
That's the best.
So my question to you,
Sounds good.
and it's good to see you,
Yeah.
is that, we don't have, some of us don't have the benefit of being in the business for 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm curious about, and of course times have changed and it's far more competitive. I'm sure there weren't 60,000 realtors when you were, in your first 5 years or 10 years. So things are very different. But my question to you is, how long, even though you had the benefit of your mom being your mentor and your mom being able to give you, the loan, blah, 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 that makes you more successful than the average agent coming in. How long do you feel like it took for you to really obtain the knowledge you needed
Great
to,
question.
obtain to be able to speak intelligently
Yeah.
about deals and gain a little more respect from people whom you were speaking?
No, I in all honesty, I feel like it took me to really get my footing a solid 5 years.
Okay.
A solid, and then between the year 5 and year 10, a few deals a year, I feel like I was still really learning something.
Right.
I mean, it's, yeah, no, I feel like it, you know, I think part of it is, being humble and knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. It's kind of like if somebody asks you a question about a house and you're selling it, and they ask you a question and you don't know, but you try to answer it. That's always the worst thing to do. Say, I'm not sure, I'll have to get back to you on that, right? And I was taught that, but it was still very hard. It's still something that's hard to put into action. I feel like when you're younger, I'm going to sell this house. I'm going to tell them whatever they want to hear. And then, but so that was a good question. But I'd say, yeah, at least a solid 5 years till I felt, like going on a listing appointment by myself on a $2 million house. It definitely took some time.
I have a piggyback on that question.
I want to ask him how long it took him to feel comfortable.
Because there's how long it takes you to feel comfortable and confident, and then there's how long it takes you to get the momentum that can sustain you income-wise year to year, where your sphere now trusts you and recommends you and has confidence in you.
Yeah.
Because I'm 10 years in.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd say that's an interesting question. I haven't really thought of that. I would probably say it's sometime between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
That at least it was for us. Now, it was interesting. We really, I think I really benefited from the first market crash in 08 and 09, because I feel like then there were a lot less agents in the business than have come in the last 5 years, and people really needed some good, like, that was tough on people, and there were a lot of short sales, there were a lot of foreclosures. People needed some really good advice, and I feel like a lot of people weren't giving it to them, and we had some of our strongest years, I'd say after the few years after the crash, as opposed to like the last year of the boom, primarily because of that. Because everybody started coming into the business and selling stuff 2004 to 2008. You put up a sign, you sold. Doesn't matter how much experience you have, how little experience you have. After that, I feel like, and so that helped me a lot, because I was really guided by my mentor to be like, okay, this is what's going on. It's bad out there. This is what you need to do from a buying and from a selling standpoint. And I think that helped a lot in terms of credibility.
Oh, two questions now.
So I want to piggyback on her question now too. So like she said, you get this momentum, and then all of a sudden there's a cycle change, and sort of things slow down, and then it's like, pulling back on the horse. And so I'm curious, during those periods in your experience, because of the time you've been in business, how long has it taken you to recover? It's really what my question is. And of course, every cycle change is different. But overall, they have the same.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like we all go through moments of, all right, I don't have any sales on my books. What's, and there's been moments of panic for sure. And my mom always said, oh yeah, I always panic, and then everything always seems to work out. I feel like with that, you have to, when it's not as busy, that's a great time to, take the time to start reaching out to people, in the sort of ways that I was talking about, to just educate them on what's going on. Hey, I just wanted to touch base. Things are kind of slow, but there's some good buying opportunities. So if you know people who are investors so I feel like there's some real opportunities for, in certain markets for sellers and certain markets for buyers. And if you're established enough, there shouldn't be too much of a slowdown. It's just more of a pivot on what you're focusing on, instead of being just trying to get as many listings as possible. You sort of switch your strategy to try to work with a more diverse clientele who have who, for example, instead of selling, who want to buy or who want to invest and then rent. Because there's always, especially here in Miami, there's always people who seize upon those markets. I mean, you guys know Miami. All the sharks come out then, and so that's a good opportunity to maybe switch gears if you haven't contacted these sharks in a while or met some of them, to kind of go after them in that kind of market as well.
Anybody? One last question. Bueller, Amit.
I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
It's,
I didn't have a question, but I'll think of one.
Okay. Wait.
It was a question that I was asked. Oh yeah, how long, when you started working with you, how long did it take you to really feel comfortable and confident in
Where'd you get rid of
siblings? Nothing like a sibling. It's
Go shopping
unbelievable.
with some aerospace engineers tomorrow, and
Oh,
you'll be like, I got this.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny. If my brother was here, I mean, it would be way worse. So I get it.
Should I lie?
You're turning very red.
Yes.
You're turning very red. Oh man. At least I got him right. I mean, come on. Make sure the video is picking this up.
I mean,
Wow.
the thing is that before I got involved with the sales side, I had a real estate marketing and technology company.
100%.
Um,
Well, I mean, if you want to go back to that as well, you can. I don't know.
And so when I got into, we represented, all the top agents across the country. So by that time, I had been involved a lot. Once I started working with my mom, it was pretty quick. At least the parts of the business that,
because you were bringing something totally different to her than her strengths. Is that?
we had a good yin and yang going, for sure. I picked it up quickly, I'd like to say, but when I first started on the technology,
Just like she said.
well, yes, maybe 5 minutes, but when Lauren joined the team, she thought what we did was evil and wrong. Because she was a social worker before, and so we were big bad salespeople, and she, it was giving her the heebie-jeebies.
I get it.
I cried almost daily.
She
for
did.
2 years.
Wow.
I get it.
Yeah.
And that was that took her 2 years to get past that point, and I would be like, you just have to think of it like we're healing our clients' pain. Their pain is they want to sell this overpriced house, and we're there to heal that pain. We're doing good work.
No, and look, and honestly, the way that I have always looked at it as well. Yes, there are people who oh man, this guy's super greedy. I have to go out and I have to try to feed his ego and give him his greed. Yes, but there's a big side of this business that really does help. I mean, you intimately get called into people's lives, and you see a lot more of their intimate workings as a family, their financials, their divorces, their deaths. I mean, it's a very, from my standpoint, that's very social worker-esque in a lot of ways. We all act as salespeople, but we act as we act as shrinks, we act as comforters and media, right? And so I think it's very rewarding. I'm sure you found that too after all these years. But it's
We've turned her to the dark side.
yeah, it's dirty.
Listen, I still think there are parts of the real estate that
Of course.
socially
Of course.
unjust. But I now volunteer with a nonprofit called Miami Homes for All that works towards greater affordability in the Miami housing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm selling the overpriced stuff and then putting it.
I would love to actually hear more about that.
I'd love to connect to you. She's the executive director is very cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
your
you
time.
guys.
Very, very gracious
Thank
with this
everybody.
time today.
Likewise.
We'll